Our next speaker, Dr. Vikram Sampath, author and historian. Dr. Vikram Sampath, a prominent Bangalore-based historian, is known for his eight academic books on Bharatiya history, including a best-selling two-volume biography of Bir Savarkar, endorsed by Prime Minister Honorable Narendra Modi ji. He achieved his recognition as a Fellow of Royal Historical Society of UK in 2021 and received the Sahitya Academy First Yuva Puraskar for English Literature and ARSC International Award for his historical research on Gauhar Jan in New York. With a doctorate in history and music from University of Queensland, he held significant roles such as Senior Research Fellow at Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. I welcome Dr. Vikram Sampath for the...
Very good morning, everyone. And it's a great pleasure, a privilege, an honor to be speaking at the World Hindu Congress and with such distinguished fellow panelists. I think Professor Anand Singh made my work a little easy by setting the stage for where I could take off from. Of course, I'm also feeling like the odd man in the panel because I don't have a PPT. I thought 10 minutes is all I have. Let me try to compress as much as I can in this limited time. And I stand before you to represent a discipline, a subject, history, which I think most of us have unfortunately grown up studying, hating it in school for the manner in which it was taught to all of us. Very insipid, very boring, learn by rote and just pass the exams. But then after we grow up, we realize that the importance of this discipline, which gives us almost a mirror, which gives us a sense of identity about ourselves, our civilization, and where we come from. And that is when we also realize the insidiousness of the opposing camp. And why they do that is because of what George Orwell, the famous English novelist, had said, that he who controls the past controls the future. And if you see most of the contemporary debates, all the contemporary conflicts that we have are somewhere rooted in historical themes or characters with extremely deep contestations and vigorous polarization. And somewhere, unfortunately, I'm really, sometimes feel very desperate and have despair that we as Hindus have really not woken up to the fact that we have outsourced our history writing, our historiography. We do not realize the importance of what it means to give it this away to an ideological cohort, which can be largely named as leftist historiography. It combines within it several strands, starting, of course, from where Professor Anand Singh left. In the 18th century, we had Hegel, the father of what is called the idea of the modern West, who looked at Western universalism, that was the hallowed objective of all civilizations which are progressing towards achieving what the West has. And building upon that was, of course, the Marxist theory. You have the dialectic, which constantly talks of a thesis and an antithesis, constantly in clash with each other, leading to a sense of synthesis in society. And all these theories, whether it's Hegel, whether it's Marx, whether it's Antonio Gramsci, whether it is Immanuel Kant, whether it's Nietzsche, all these philosophers and people whose theories deeply inspire Marxist historiography even in India, the critical theory, which Oppenheimer started in 1937, all these people talk about just this, the constant clash between groups, the hegemonic culture and a counter-hegemony. And so in the Indian context, the Indian Marxists were quick to adopt this to say that the Brahmins are the constant oppressors. You have to constantly look at the very subtle strands of bias, of structure, which you need to deconstruct and then dismantle. So these terms are constantly used. You had the Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference also. And those who are awakened to these social injustices and structures are the ones who understand the critical theory, which later became, of course, the critical race theory, but also in popular parlance are the ones who are the woke, who have awakened themselves to social injustices, and they are ready to dismantle this through activism, through academics, and through various other structures. But then, I have a lot of problem with the topic that I have been given in this conference, which is the hows and the whys of Marxist distortion. In 10 minutes to talk about a topic which has been, I think, oft repeated, is, to my view, always, I think it's very, very not too productive, because we will keep doing the Purva Paksha by when I think the opponent has gone several kilometers away. As even Winston Churchill had said, by the time the Hindus have elaborated the arguments, the Muslims have already sharpened their swords. And the opponent here can be not just the Muslim, but also the Marxist and everyone else who have their theories. We will still keep talking about what are the distortions, never talking of the Uttara Paksha as to what is the counter, what is the alternative that we can do as Hindus, as the only surviving pre-Bronze Age civilization. But since the conference has given me this topic, I'd like to quickly run through some key points of what I think are the chief distortions in Indian history as done by the Marxists. One is, of course, as a takeaway of this thesis, antithesis, hegemony, counter-hegemony that I spoke about, is this sense of perennial apologia about your past. You're reading about your past. If you look at the textbooks that some of the students in India are reading, it's almost as if you're reading about some other country. It's not your own country. You're reading about it in third person. You have to constantly feel repentant about the mistakes of the past. Now, every society goes through highs and lows, pluses and negatives. And the work of a historian is not to stir up, mass jingoism and hysteria. But the counter is also not true, that you constantly feel apologetic about what you have. You denigrate and downplay your own achievements and almost, don't even acknowledge your Hindu identity. The other thing that comes very close to this is a spectacular disconnect from your roots, which I think is unparalleled in the world. Negation of Bharat's civilizational greatness is almost like a fashion statement, so to say. And India is always seen through the eyes of her invaders. If you see the way our history textbooks too are written, it's a long litany list of battles that we as Bharatiyas have lost, right from the invasions of the Greeks, the Scythians, the Huns, the Shakas, to the Arabs, the Turks, the Timurids, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the British. They all just kept coming, and we were covering our feet in front of them and succumbed to invasions. Now, if we are the only, as I said, pre-Bronze Age era civilization which is still alive, there must have been some courage and resistance that our poor ancestors also put through. There must have been some wars that we also won. Now, why is it that these wars, these heroes, and more importantly also heroines, a lot of women in our long historical discourse, they do not feature in what is the popular Bharatiya historiography in India. And the history of the country is so rooted and centered around the city of Delhi. I don't have anything against it. It's a wonderful city, and I sometimes wonder if I go there, I'll never be allowed to enter, considering the amount of bad-mouthing I do for it being the whole center of our history. But then every small little, insignificant dynasty that has ruled Delhi, even bigoted and tyrannical ones, the Lodhis and Khiljis and Tughlaqs and all these people who have absolutely no contribution to our civilizational heritage. We are forced to learn by rote the succession plans of all these kings. But then vast swathes of the country, the south of India, the northeast of India, the Rajputs, the Marathas, the Shatavahanas, the Rashtrakutas, the Cholas, the Pallavas, the Ahoms, all these do not even feature in the larger historiography of Bharat as we know it. So I think Bharat needs to snatch back her history from Delhi centricity. Now, closely linked with the disconnect from our roots is almost a denial of an erasure of all the traditional Indian knowledge systems in every field, be it philosophy, language, mathematics, sciences, metallurgy, chemistry, Ayurveda, yoga, all these different fields. Again, the sense that we are no-gooders. We are a nation of losers. We have only been, oppressing each other. We have been losing in front of people who have invaded us. That has been the dominant narrative. And along with that is the denial of the very idea of India or Bharat. There is a difference between a nation and a nation state. A nation state, of course, has codified laws, it has boundaries, but a nation predates that through civilizational oneness. And in that, for centuries, I think there has been a commonality of Bharat as a civilizational entity, as a nation. I'm told I have 1 minute, so in that I will try to hurry up as much as possible from medieval India through modern India in 60 seconds. Very quickly, all the darker elements of our history have been denied. The denial of genocides, and I don't need to elaborate that to the crowd here who know how, crores and crores of people have been massacred. Hindus have been massacred. Sometime between 1,000 to 1,500 CE, as per historian K.S. Lal, the population of the subcontinent fell by 8 crores. And this, they just didn't drop down dead. It was an organized genocide which was based on theological reasons. The estimates of temples that were destroyed, anywhere from 4,000, as Sitaram Goyalji says, to 40,000 at the least is a conservative estimate, are places of learning, be it Nalanda, Vikramshila, Takshashila, all of this being destroyed, sex slavery of women who were sent away to the Middle East. All of this is not spoken about in the larger rubric of that Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb animal that doesn't exist, but which is constantly invoked with the idea that, talking about these uncomfortable elements of our past somehow upsets the contemporary social unity in Bharat. But dare I say, and as I've said this time and again, the edifice of national unity cannot rest on the shaky foundations of whitewashed history. It is going to collapse each and every time there is a whiff of truth that blows through, and that is the schisms and the problems that we are seeing in our country. George Santayana had said, those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And I think in the Bharatiya context, we have not grappled and understood these issues related to the manner in which our history is depicted. And so these controversies, these problems continue to exist. I hope at least in the question answer and the discussion that follows, we go beyond the Purva Paksha. We look at the Uttara Paksha, we look at solutions, we look at strategies as to not continuously keep demonizing Western concepts, Marxist theories. They have done what they have done. That was their dharma. They have stayed very true to their dharma. Now let us do our dharma. Let us see how we can actually proactively work to correct the narrative. Thank you.